Hey everyone, and welcome back to Double Take. On this series, we're going to be giving you two different views at a deck, and this episode is going to be about Kresh the Bloodbraided. Keith, let's go ahead and get started right away, and tell us how you're going to build Kresh.
Okay, so first things first, Kresh is a super cool human warrior for Jund and 2. It's a 3/3. Whenever another creature dies, you put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is that creature's power. To wit, we want a bunch of creatures dead. I'm going to facilitate this using deathtouch. Just lots and lots and lots of deathtouch. The deathtouch everywhere.
It's a good keyword.
Yes. So, as you might imagine, very creature-based deck.
Yep.
It's basically Golgari.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Golgari deck.
Right.
There just so happens to be red in the color identity.
Sure. Toys.
And, yeah. The vast majority of that is going to be 1 and 2 drop little guys with deathtouch. Sedge Scorpion, Farrak's So Chosen, Moss Viper.
Okay.
Lots of cards that nobody cares about.
I'm guessing like Saris the Viper's Fang.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll get into those pieces in a second.
Okay, yeah.
But the vast majority is just little guys that your opponent's super not going to want to block ever.
Sure.
And we're going to give them an ultimatum.
Right.
Take this damage, son.
Or make Kresh more swole.
Absurd.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Outside of just little deathtouch creatures, I think one of the things that people haven't noticed is that deathtouch has gotten a lot of actual support.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Saryth.
Yep.
Saryth is really, really cool. Basically gives us hexproof when we're not attacking.
Right.
Which makes us very sticky. Hooded Blightfang is a very, very cool card that is going to effectively double the damage of all of our little guys.
Sure, because they're little.
Yeah, they're little 1/1s.
You're gonna take one no matter what.
And gives us the extra utility of Deathtouch on Planeswalkers.
Sure.
So, Bill, yeah, you ever heard of a set called Kaldheim?
Yeah, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess you're gonna bear some fangs.
Finn the Fangbearer will just kill a guy every once in a while.
Sure. If you have what is 2 per hit.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 swingers that don't get blocked, someone's knocked out.
And we thought about that too. So other cards that are very important in this deck are Vidalcan Orrery.
Okay.
Because it kind of turns all of our little Deathtouch guys into kill spells. Yeah.
Right. You have 7 mana laying around and a Finn on the field.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have pseudo haste.
Yeva Nature's Herald is the same thing for about 50% of our creatures.
Right.
Our opponent attacks us and we go, you fucked up.
Right.
Clunk.
The thing you thought was going to get through and deal damage is now dead, let alone blocked.
Our opponent doesn't block because they don't mind, 5 1/1s. They don't want to lose their creatures. Oh, hey.
You lost them.
Here's 2 mana, and I win the game.
Yeah. Also, Vidalcan Orrery just got a reprint.
Yeah.
Double Masters.
Nice and cheap. I'm not going to go through a massive list of creatures that have Deathtouch.
Little boys.
So we're going to move on from that to mention a few other cool pieces.
Okay.
And then go from there. Calculating Lich.
All right. Okay, he's in my Ishin build.
Yes. Yeah. Really, really cool guy.
And very, very scary when he drops on the board unexpectedly.
Yes. So. The other big half of this is we're trying to punish people for blocking, right?
Right.
What if we also punish people for not blocking?
Right.
So, we've got really, really cool stuff like Thantis, Warweaver.
Okay.
Soul of Innistrad, Tetzimoc Primal Death is a card that is kind of nuts.
Wow, you're actually putting Tetsi found another home?
Yeah, I think he's really crazy in Kresh because even if you don't... If people get into the point where they're not going to block, they've figured out what you're up to and they're just not going to buy in, it doesn't really matter if
That's
you've
true.
got a...
That's true. You'll see the impending doom of you have a counter, you have a counter, you have a counter.
Right.
And then at any time, especially with Vidalcan Orrery, you can say, what's in my hand.
Yeah.
Do you want to mess with this?
Yeah.
Do you want to risk... I mean, it's going to come down. It's ETB, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, at instant speed, just the threat of having some counters on them are going to be enough to...
Yeah. Okay, so even beyond that, we have a lot of utility in the deck.
Sure.
Probably the coolest thing is Stensia Masquerade, which is red and 2 for an enchantment that gives attacking creatures you control first strike.
Okay.
So now suddenly you're in a position where blocking is extraordinarily inequitable.
You basically are only going to block to live.
Yeah.
Because first strike death touch is bad.
Exactly.
Sure.
And that's the whole goal, is force our opponent into making decisions they really, really don't like, and hopefully, eventually turning that into a win.
Okay.
That's kind of the whole deck from here out. I'm actually thinking I'm going to post the list on our moxfield for further development.
Just to get like the details out of the way.
Yeah,
Sure.
The vast majority of it is stuff that I've just mentioned over and over and over again.
Sure.
One drop guys with death touch, and enchantments that say these creatures are better at getting their job done.
Sure.
Is there anything that you would like me to go into, or any detail that you think I've missed?
Maybe just, I think I know how you're going to, but closing games, particularly, like, I'm guessing, trample of some sort.
Oh, yes. So, our goal is to not really need Kresh, but use him as an ultimatum, right?
Sure.
If our opponent's blocking, then Kresh gets absolutely massive out of nowhere.
And eventually he becomes too big to deal with.
Right. And then, like you said, trample is how you normally capitalize on that to close out a game.
Right. And death touch with trample
Yeah.
is pretty scary.
Yeah. 1 damage to that thing, the rest to you, guy. Sorry.
Yep.
So, Shadow Spear.
Okay.
Locks it on Warhammer.
Right.
You turned me on to Scepter of Celebration.
Right. Okay.
Wand of Orcus.
Gives the death touch.
Uh-huh. Embercleave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And a card that I think a lot of people have missed because it's ancient is Mage Slayer.
Actually has Kresh in the flavor text too, by
It
the way.
sure does.
'Cause
Flavor win.
You're fucking hardcore when you play Mage Slayer.
Mage Slayer on Kresh will actually just kill 2 people at once.
Sure, totally, because Kresh is going to bop someone, and that trigger is going to get pointed at
The
someone
other
else.
guy.
Sure.
Yeah. That's the whole deck.
And what you do is you attack the guy you want to kill the least,
Right.
and you put the fucking trigger at the guy who you want to die the most.
And they do.
They do.
That's
yeah.
just what happens.
That's the whole point of Krash.
Yeah.
And,
So,
I mean, it's perfect that his flavor text is
when the wielder is strong enough, any sword will do.
Right.
Very simple, very straightforward. There's not a ton to talk about outside of making your opponents make choices they don't want.
Okay.
That is the focus.
So it's like I said to you earlier. It's about putting new toys into old magic
Exactly.
and really getting to capitalize on the old theme with the power creep that we need to keep up with the
Right.
modern day.
Right. And really showing off that Death Touch isn't something to ignore anymore.
No.
Like, it used to be just a utility that some creatures had, but nowadays we've got enough toys that play with it that it can be a really, really devastating thing in the right hands.
I'm actually really happy to see Wizards lately giving keywords tribal effects.
Yeah.
Like Ikoria gave Menace.
Yeah.
Really crazy tribal. Like Menace tribal is a deck you can build out of that.
Speaking of old toys, there's one more to talk about with this that I almost forgot. There's a card named Lightning Volley.
Okay.
Lightning Volley is an instant for red and 3 that says until end of turn, creatures you control gain tap, deal a damage to any target.
Okay.
So everything already has Death Touch. That 1 damage will just clean out every problem you have.
That's actually kind of silly.
Yeah.
And you know, there's going to be situations in this particular brew where you're going to be dealing enough damage
Yeah.
that life totals are going to be low enough that, yo dog, I just hit you with my Wand of Orcus and Scepter Celebration.
Yeah.
On my next turn, I'm going to Lightning Volley and
even if people aren't blocking, again, they're just taking the 1 or 2 damage every time
They're gonna
that you're
get low
throwing
enough
at them.
that
Eventually, this is a way to make Kresh kill a guy right then and there.
Sure.
Because you clear out 5 creatures, Kresh is going to
That's a
gain
good
5
point, too.
creatures with the power.
That's a good point too.
It's nuts.
Hell yeah. I dig it.
That's pretty much what I'm doing. Bill,
Yeah.
I know you've got some dinosaurs on your list.
I have a strange brew.
I've seen this deck with different commanders at the helm in your hands, and I'm mortified and very excited.
Right. So I've always liked enrage.
Yes.
Enrage is a mechanic that more, please, Wizards.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not unfair at all.
Yeah.
You have to work to make it happen. So sometimes less than others.
Pyrohemia.
Yeah, Pestilence, which is the main reason, by the way, why I went Jund instead of Naya.
For sure.
Pestilence, I mean, Pyrohemia is the one people know, even though Pestilence is alpha.
Right.
People.
Ancient.
Pestilence was first, but I've always loved Pestilence and Pyro, and I think that they're the best enraged cards you could ever ask for.
Absolutely. Trigger your whole board immediately is insane.
Totally. So,
while punishing your opponents.
Right.
Yeah.
And so obviously we have some cards that don't seem like they make sense, and they don't make sense in my previous brew, but they do here.
Sure. Fire away.
There's cards like Druid's Call on Kresh.
Okay.
So Druid's Call is whenever the creature takes damage, the enchanted creature takes damage, you make a 1/1 squirrel.
Okay.
Well, if you have Pyrohemia,
it's going to be a lot of squirrels.
You're dealing damage to Kresh, but then you're going to get a squirrel.
And then the next time you trigger it, that squirrel will die.
But then that squirrel will give Kresh a +1/+1 counter.
Uh-huh.
And then he'll make another squirrel. So it becomes pay a red mana, Kresh gets a +1/+1 counter. Just whenever you need to dump some red or black mana.
That's very silly.
There's the Raptor duo.
Yeah.
Well, not excluding Paul. We're going to exclude Polyraptor because that's just a silly card.
Yeah.
If I feel like buying one, I will. But no, like there's Ranging Raptors.
Yeah.
Which is deals a damage, get a basic, put it on the field.
Yep.
There's Ripjaw Raptors, deals damage, draw a card.
Sick.
What more could you want, right? I mean, then there's the big ones. There's Snapping Sailback.
Sure.
He just grows. He gets a +1/+1 counter every time he's dealt damage.
Yeah,
so
he's going to be massive.
Once again, you Pyrohemia for a damage, he gets it back.
Yeah.
I mean, and he keeps what he gets back.
Ugh.
So, like, every time... so the next turn, he's now an 8/8, and the next turn, he's now a 10/10, or bigger. So it's always going to have a big threat. Well, when that thing dies, that all gets shoved onto Kresh.
That's...
So, like, you can keep Kresh off the field until you have a 13/13.
Real scary, dog.
Sure. So, another one, and this is where it gets kind of sad and scary, and don't do this to your friends, is Silverclad Ferocidons.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I am not.
Enrage. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent.
Yeah, don't do
permanent.
That. Don't do that.
So
that's not all right.
Don't do this. If it said creatures, it's still not fun.
But lands,
yeah,
man.
It will eventually dig into your opponent's lands. So don't.
Probably with extreme speed if you're enraging often enough.
Oh, sure. Sure. And there's
enrage is extraordinarily easy to trigger if you really want
to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a combo which I'll go ahead and tell now that is good by itself, but plug any other enraged creature into this combo and it gets insane. So you have cards like the combo is Cacophodon, is enrage, untap target permanent. Rite of Passage, when a creature is dealt damage and doesn't die from it, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And either Pyrohemia or Pestilence. So you tap your mountain for Pyrohemia.
Oop.
It deals a damage to everything. Cacophodon triggers, untaps the red mana. You can use it again. But everything grows every time you do that. So just those three cards, and you have an infinite power Cacophodon.
That's a pretty cool way to end a game.
Sure.
That's neat.
Now, what gets disgusting is when you plug in cards like Ranging Raptors, get every basic out of your deck.
Right.
You plug
Draw
in
your whole deck.
You plug in Silverclad Ferocidons.
And everybody sacrifices
every
their
permanent.
Whole table.
Every permanent is gone. Yours is there.
Ugh.
I mean, you got to win the game somehow. But don't do this unless you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
Like Silverclad 3 times a turn just because you can bleed out. Maybe don't.
Yeah.
So then we have a couple of older toys that aren't enraged cards, but they are.
Okay.
Fungusaur and Fungus Sliver. They're just the Snapping Sailback.
Yeah.
They get bigger every time they get
Fungusaur is a card that I've used quite a few times, actually.
Sure. And, I mean, once again, it's a easy way to get a creature that will eventually be a 20/20.
Right.
Will never die to the Pyrohemian Pestilence. And then will either A, be a threat, or B, say, hey, Kresh, yo, dog, here's 20 counters.
Yeah.
Like,
so it sounds like we have almost opposite ideas this time
brews
around.
for
where,
once.
Yeah, where
Right.
I'm kind of trying to diversify a single really, really strong threat in Kresh and 1,000 little guys. You're playing more what is normally my speed and being very mid-rangey. Just a bunch of big dudes.
Everything's tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did take some plays from maybe one of your recommendations after you had said it. And I am including Wand of Orcus and Scepter Celebration.
Yeah. You
And-
turned me on to the Scepter, and
Right.
I owned one and didn't even think about it.
Right. And I have a copy of both. They can both fit into this brew, and they make you go wide as well.
Yes.
And one gives Kresh trample. Moving on from those, though, I was looking at it. Spore Web Weaver is another guy who makes tokens when he's damaged. It's from what, M21?
Yeah.
And
Sounds right.
he gains life, though, when he does it. So if you're doing the pyro thing, you don't die.
Yeah.
So once again, something adding to these combos or adding to these synergies that says it's only going to hit it's supposed to be symmetrical.
Right.
But the point of Magic is you take symmetrical effects
And throw that out the window.
and you take about 2% of that symmetry.
Yeah. Capitalism.
Right. The last thing I want to get to before we get to the last section, which is trample, once again, on my brew as well,
Yeah.
is Blitz.
Sure.
Blitz is a cool ability, and it's kind of underrated. I actually found this when I was playing the Jund Precon from New Capenna. Kresh is included in the deck, and
Yeah.
and the one
which is really cool because he was actually starting
he was
to
actually
climb.
$6-7 again. He was
Yeah.
starting to climb up again.
So having easy access maybe makes this a little bit easier for anybody who's
Right?
interested to
I
climb in
I
more.
didn't own one yet, and I wanted one, so now I do.
I've got my signed foil version
Oh
from
shit!
Yeah.
But in the Blitz, when I was playing that precon game, I got a Kresh out, and I realized that my Kresh was literally a 20/20 in one turn.
Yeah.
Mainly because the commander of the deck was giving everything Blitz. So, and Blitz, for those who don't know, is an ability that you pay usually a slightly reduced, sometimes slightly increased cost to put the creature out with haste. When it dies, you draw a card.
Yep.
That's all. It's actually really powerful in Kresh, though, because you
And
want...
it sacrifice it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sacrifice it at the end of turn.
Yeah.
And because of that, Kresh just gets, hey, I got big. Some of those are, there's the Kaladia Guardian, who every time a power 4 or greater dies, he makes 2/1/1 citizens.
Yeah, that's sick.
So, more power for Kresh or more going wide. Jaxus,
Yeah.
I think we all know where this is going to go.
Uh-huh.
Even if you just make another Kresh, for 1 mana, you pump your Kresh 5
Yeah.
and draw a card. I don't understand how that's not a card that you play in the deck. Mezio Mugger has a decent body, has pseudo card draw.
Sure.
Nightclubber, when he enters, he makes all creatures your opponents control get -1/-1.
Sure.
So if you have a token problem, if you have a what is it, Scoot Swarm, or this what's the new one? Is it Scoot Swarm?
Maybe.
The new one that makes all the 1/1s.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a Scoot Swarm problem, you literally just pay 4 mana, get rid of that, Kresh grows 4 power, and you draw a card.
Yeah. Clean the house real quick, like.
Cool. I mean, Blitz is basically cycling.
Yeah.
And evoke on the same card.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, it does it at a speed that you don't have to try. You don't have to get a sacrifice outlet. You just blitz your guy out, and then Kresh grows. And then if someone wants to waste their removal on Kresh, that's cool.
Yeah. That just
mean-
means that any of your other 20/20 threats didn't get removed.
Right. Or that, hey, maybe I gained 20 life because it's Swords to Plowshares. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, so we've mentioned a couple of times now trample. It's
Yeah.
very important for both of us.
I went as well with, you told me Shadow Spear just now, so I was like, yeah, I forgot about Shadow Spear.
Yeah.
I don't know how. But no,
We have just so many ways
Scepter.
of getting... Yeah.
and then one that I have in my brew, and I'm not sure if you do, is Vorak Battlehorns.
The Bill Classic.
So Kresh getting trample is cool.
Yeah.
Kresh getting trample and only being able to be blocked by one creature is terrifying.
It's game ending.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Kresh is going to be bigger than whatever your opponent has, unless they have like a freaking Corvold.
Yeah.
Right. Corvold might outpace Kresh.
Ah, yes, the other Jund deck.
Yeah, the Jund deck that's probably the power creep of Kresh.
Yeah.
Same cost. I think the same body.
Pretty much, yeah.
He has flying though. And then we sacrificed draw card.
Yeah.
But yeah, nope. All that trample lets us get in.
Very simple, very straightforward, to the point. I like it a lot.
Hell yeah. I mean, and it's something, like I said, you've seen me play it before.
Yeah.
With Vivictus Asmati as the helm.
Super cool.
Because I didn't own a Krash.
Right.
The brew was brewed to be Krash. I didn't own one because they were like $5-6, and I had 1,000 other brews going.
Right.
And then I got a precon that had a Krash in it. So I'm going to probably take most of that brew, add a couple of Blitz cards, and go ham.
All right. So let's do what we do. Offer
Right.
each other a couple of suggestions, and I've got one for you right out the gate.
Okay.
There is a card that I missed at first in New Capenna named Body Launderer.
Okay.
Body Launderer is 2 black and 2 for a 3/3 with deathtouch. He's in my brew already.
Sure.
Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launderer connives. Connive is draw a card, discard a card. If it's a non-land, get a counter.
Sure.
So he does the thing that you're doing already. He interacts with your squirrel combo very favorably.
Hell yeah.
When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature with equal or lesser power from your graveyard to your battlefield.
Okay.
So say
not
somebody
him.
gets wise to what you're doing, and as opposed to letting you enrage a billion times, they just slap down your Wayfaring Swordtooth or whatever.
They just murder one of my enragers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who cares? It's back.
Right.
It's just such a valuable effect in Commander,
Yeah.
where the graveyard is probably the most used resource that isn't the deck.
Okay.
Next up, another one from my brew, Professional Facebreaker. It's
Yes.
a card that we've talked about a bunch.
Yes.
Treasures are stupid. This guy gives you a bunch of them whenever you deal combat damage to a player.
Okay.
And then you can sacrifice them to effectively serve as card draw as well.
Right, because that's the one that you can, sacrifice 2 to draw cards?
Sacrifice a treasure, exile the top card, you may play it.
Okay, so you impulse
Yeah,
for a treasure.
it's dumb.
That's pretty
And
good.
we're both attacking a lot,
We are.
so might as well get free value out
Sure.
of it.
Most definitely.
I think the last really cool suggestion I have for you are Gorm the Great and Virtus the Veiled.
Okay.
So these guys,
I'm familiar with them a little bit, especially Virtus.
they're from Battlebond. They
Yep.
have partner with, so if you play one, you
get
get to
the
go
other.
search the other.
Okay.
Gorm the Great is a green and 3. He's a 2/7 with Vigilance, and says he must be blocked if able, and must be blocked by 2 or more creatures if able.
Okay.
So you're pyrohemiaing people out, right?
They're not going to have 2 or more.
Yeah, there's a good chance that they're not going to have
They're only
a
gonna
lot
be
of
blocking
blockers, and they're forced onto this guy.
Sure.
For similar reasons, you can also play lure effects and whatnot.
Sure, like
but
a Mask of Nemesis is
this-
one of my favorites.
yeah, that silly goofer got onto my list like really, really quick.
Lure and equip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and his partner is also very, very cool.
Sure.
But he's a black and 2, and is a 1/1 with Death Touch. You know, my thing.
Little guy, that touch.
Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up.
Okay.
Which, very, very cool, very strong. He's actually here to search his partner.
Right.
If you hit somebody and sap half their life, that's really cool. But getting a way to ensure that Kresh is getting in is the more important part of the...
Sure.
Yeah. Anything for me, sir? Anything
Okay.
on your list?
So, honest to God, I think one of the things I would recommend is probably Vorak Battlehorns from my brew.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this card end so many lives.
If my commander's hitting for 5 or more, I usually have Vorak Battlehorns in my deck.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. Like,
Got him.
and it gives the trample too.
Yeah.
If it was just can only be blocked by 1, probably wouldn't be a big deal.
But being able to just rickshaw straight through somebody.
Right. Anytime you have, because it gives the trample,
Yeah.
whatever they have in the way, it doesn't matter. This is another Bill favorite. And sorry it's expensive. I think you know where this is going. It's going to be Lifeline.
Yeah, it's pretty classic.
In Kresh, it's, oh no, the board wiped. Cool, everything's back. He doesn't grow, but all of your stuff's back to sacrifice. And all the things they block with just grow Kresh.
Yeah.
Things keep dying. Kresh will stick. Another card I would recommend for any brew that's any Voltron has red is either Bolt Bend or Deflecting Swat.
Sure. You need protection.
They're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna STP or freaking Path to Exile
Right.
your Voltron commander. And, you know, boots is cool. Get your boots. That's cool.
Yeah.
But every now and then it's a little more fun to just have a Bolt Bend in your hand.
And it's more than just fun, right? It's so cathartic.
Yeah.
When the guy who's winning sees that you're about to catch up and they've got something for you, they're about to gun you down,
Yep.
and you're like, you're not winning anymore.
Yeah. Not only are you going to try to stop me from winning, but I hope you wanted to gain some life because your commander's getting swords to plowshare. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a permanent junkie. I don't play a lot of spells.
I'm the removal guy.
Yeah, but
that's what I do.
But when I do play spells, they're removal or they're surprise gotcha.
Yeah.
Not like your style with deflecting palm. You're a little more old school with that. But
I'm so... Oh, man it.
the Bolt Bend, though, if you want to play the cheap version, I think it's like 25 cents.
Yeah, and there's a ton of them, so
And
you can find the ones you like the most.
It's just so fun.
That's
Like,
tasty.
it feels really good to just rip that onto your opponent and be like, hey, should have thought that through.
Neener.
Yeah.
So I think very soon I'm going to have this together. I was actually putting it together before we got together to record.
Sure.
I'm really hoping to play it for gameplay here soon.
Okay.
You think you're going to do the same?
I think I'll build it, but probably not for a gameplay soon. I just have too many brews in the wet mix. I have Kadira coming up soon.
Sure.
And obviously,
Kadira is really cool.
Obviously, Dominaria is right around the corner, and it's going to sap our wallets and our time.
Give us 85 more things to talk about.
Right, because I'm sure that, once again, Dominaria is going to be a legend set.
Oh, you saw the Uncommon Legends gimmick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're fun.
Yeah. I think the pirate, Ramirez de Pietro, is really neat.
He has some neat combos, too.
Yeah.
I think Torwakui is a little better than maybe you think he is, but he's goofy.
No, I think he's fine. I'm just not interested.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is interesting to see a lifelinker in Rakdos.
Sure.
So, but yeah,
it is cool to have more Rakdos commanders in general.
Yep. Yeah, though I'm super excited to build Kadira. I'm excited to see this, and this. Honestly, this is basically built. I just need to maybe throw in a couple of blitzers, pull out a couple of cards,
Yeah.
and swap over Vivictus.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, good commander.
Yeah.
Give him
really fun.
give him a shot.
Joey plays with Vivictus as an Energy Matters commander. Is really good, actually.
I mean, it has to make sense at least, right? Because chances are you're digging for more energy, and
Exactly.
you Chaos Warping your worst thing to get more energy.
There's nothing better than Chaos Warping your Birds of Paradise into your, like, Aetherwind Basilisk.
Oh, sure.
And
or,
gaining 1 billion
or like
energy.
your Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah.
So,
All right, you think we wrap this one up?
yeah, I think so. I think that's it. This has been Double Take on Kresh the Bloodbraided. I'm Bill,
I'm Keith.
and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks very much.
Bye.